His father had been big-boned and ruddy, with light brown hair and a heavy brow. His mother was pale and dark-haired, with a fine-boned face like a cat's. Faustus had his father's height, but he owed much of his looks to her, as well as the promised post in the army. She had taught her children her language, despite his father's objections, telling Silvius that she wanted someone to speak to in her own tongue when he complained that she was a Roman now. Being a Roman was much better than being a Briton. Faustus had had to agree with that, but there was something lyrical in his mother's speech that had made him want to learn it. And, as it happened, that had proved useful. Theirs was neither a family of equestrian rank nor one with a tradition of army service, and he would likely have had no chance at an immediate commission, but gone in as a rank-and-filer to work his way up, except for the fact that he spoke his mother's language. There was a need for British-speaking officers now that Agricola, new governor of Britain, was planning to finish off the conquest of that province.
"All right, you lazy worms, take those jumps again, this time bareback. An officer who can't stay on his horse in an emergency doesn't belong in the army. Anyone who hasn't fallen off, line up for Pelham practice afterward, and then we'll have a nice march down to the harbour. You've got 6 months for me to turn you into centuriate material."
Faustus took his horse over the last jump, and arrived still mounted, unlike a number of his fellows. If there was one thing to be grateful to the farm for, it was that he could ride practically anything. And any exercise, even a 20-mile march along the Tiber to Ostia Harbour and back, was better than a life spent trying to be the brother who had died young, the one who should have inherited the farm, the one who had wanted it. Instead, Faustus now served a great empire to which everyone from the seal people of the northern islands to the little djinns of the eastern desert paid fealty. Or so he was told daily during training by Mucius, a muscular centurion who looked as if he had personally conquered all of it, though he had perhaps exaggerated a bit about the northern islands, now the goal of Governor Agricola's campaign. There was only one small fly in his wine cup. On his first night in the training barracks in Rome, Faustus had been too exhausted to move, thanks to Mucius, and too excited to sleep. The combination induced a dreamlike haze, in which he imagined what his father would have had to say about it all, and, possibly as a result, saw his father standing at the foot of his bed. He was dressed in a toga, one arm slightly raised, the image of the paterfamilias. His form was transparent, like the first wash of a painting with details to come later, but his voice was clear. "You have disgraced us." Faustus lay perfectly still and whispered, "Go away." 200 years, Faustus. 200 years that farm has been in our family, and you have sold it to an upstart with no breeding to go and play soldier. The buyer had been a freedman looking to come up in the world. Despite his wife's status, Silvius Valerianus didn't approve of other people changing their station in life. Faustus sat up, now more irritated than afraid, and pretty sure the apparition was imaginary. "That's what Silvius said. Go haunt her." Paulus, asleep on a pallet at the foot of his cot, was snoring lightly and seemed oblivious. "I shall never find rest," his father said dolefully, "because of you." He faded into a wisp of mist, and then disappeared entirely. In the morning, Faustus was not entirely sure what he had seen, and Paulus gave no indication of having heard anything. On the other hand, Paulus was bound to feel that it was no part of his duties to talk to ghosts, particularly not the old master. Any further contemplation was swiftly dispelled by Mucius, who set them to hacking with wooden swords at straw men, and then at each other, finally with real swords, once he thought they could avoid accidental death. They learned to shoot a bow and arrow and use a sling, on the theory that an officer should be able to do anything that the men under him might be trained to do. Those who couldn't swim learned. Most of the legions